We need to have the basic tools to execute. One main thing it taught me is we should have ambition. We've put in motion investment, we've put in motion people.
Hello everyone, I'm Eve Stevens, editor of Movement.net, and I'm here at Move 2026 speaking to some of the industry leaders driving progress in auto tech. And I have the absolute pleasure of being joined today by Francoise Poggi, COO of Fastned. So Francoise, thank you so much for joining us today. How has your Move 2026 experience been so far?
Well, thank you, actually, Eve. Pleasure to be at Move in this session. Actually, quite good. I've been pretty engaged in speaking to various actors in the autonomous vehicle sector. So I was meeting a few of them to understand their impact, what they're doing, the evolution of the technology. So it's been really interesting. And also meeting other leaders from a similar industry. It's always good to meet a larger group of people that are part of our ecosystem. Yeah,
obviously, I think autonomous has been a massive theme at this year's conference. There's obviously a lot going on here in London, but lovely to see as well some panel discussions on electrification and various other kind of topics. When we think about industry events, I think here at Move, we're very, very confident in the power of face-to-face. Why do you think these kind of industry events are important? Why speak at Move?
I think what's really important is that we connect the dots. We all operating within an ecosystem, and we obviously focusing on charging, fast charging. That doesn't mean we should not meet other parties like the OEMs, or also autonomous actors. And I think it's really important we understand each other's priorities. We understand how our priorities are actually being connected, and also what are the main topics we need to advance together. So I think it gives a lot of insight on what are the challenges, what are our challenges, and how we can better cooperate.
Yeah, definitely. And let's jump right in there. I want to speak about electrification. I know you were speaking today in a panel discussion with Ian House from Honda, and then also Evelina Falk from Scania. So I want to know, in your opinion, you obviously bring a European perspective to electrification. In your opinion, where is Europe at the moment? How far through this journey are we really?
Actually, we're way more advanced through the journey than we think. I recall, I was like sometimes to recall the beginning, when I joined that industry was in 2017. The idea of talking about EV, people thought, you guys are crazy, this is never going to happen. And then we are nearly 10 years later, and now we're talking about 1 in every 5 cars sold is an EV. I think in the UK is 1 in 4. And soon we'll be reaching the level of mass adoption of that new technology. So it's been really amazing how fast this has advanced. And there's something important to mention about new technology, because really EV are a new technology. It's the fact that the adoption goes way faster than people expect it will go. And generally, the early adopters are always sidetracked. And then what you hear is really people starting to grow interest for that technology. And then finally, we're going to pass, I think at some point, we're going to pass the level. And we see already in some market like Norway, 95% of cars sold are electric. You take Denmark, it's 60%. And this is accelerating.
Yeah, I think the Norway story is super inspiring as a kind of leader in Europe there. I mean, that's an incredible transition. And you're right, I think even here in the UK and across the board in Europe, we're kind of moving away from that early adoption phase. We're really moving into this new era. I want to speak more about Fastned. Here in the UK, I know you have some considerable presence. New partnership announced with TfL, which is really exciting. Can you speak a little bit about where Fastned is fitting into the equation, maybe more specifically a project that you're working on with the organization that's really exciting you at the moment?
So it's been hard to try one project, but I can talk a little bit about all the things we're doing. Really, so obviously the partnership with TfL has been for us a really important one because we can showcase what Fastnet is capable to do around the key urban area and key capital cities in Europe. So making sure we reinforce our presence around the key capital city and urban area is an important development. We are also focusing a lot on customer experience. We believe the next generation of EV drivers also want to improve the experience of the EV drivers. So we're looking at retail amenities that actually attract people. And what's very important for us is to look at the perspective of the customer and not just look at placing EV fast chargers around Europe, but really look at what add value to people, what add value to customer, what add value to communities. Yes.
Yeah, I think having that kind of customer-centered approach,
yes,
and really thinking about the way we can be strategic. It's not always just about volume, but where are we placing this infrastructure?
Actually, where you place the infrastructure is gonna generate the volume, so it's absolutely critical, and that's one of our main focus at Fastnet.
Perfect. And I want to obviously touch on. We've spoken about how far through this journey we are. There is obviously still some way to go as well. I want to ask you, whilst I have you, what do you see as the kind of biggest challenge? Is this a question of infrastructure? You seem quite adamant that the technology is there, and I think that's kind of clear. But what is the biggest bottleneck stalling this transition?
Well, there's a few bottlenecks. I think one of the main bottleneck is greed. Obviously, there need to be investment in grid capacity. There need to be support for grid operator. Government needs to also identify grid as a key area to develop in their country. So I think it's really critical we deploy actually the capacity within the grid. And we see already in the Netherlands, we're experiencing that level of congestion, and that start to expand across Europe. So that's one critical blocker. But there's also a lot of red tape around getting things done, around installing fast chargers, permitting, and approval that are extremely long. So I think what's really important is if you want to encourage the development, you want to push an industry, we need to have the basic tools to execute. And also we discussed this a little bit earlier, but driving stabilities in the policies that are surrounding actually EV fast charging and the EV industry in general, that is key, that to have policies that remain stable and do not change every other month. That is a key element, key blockers actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously in Europe, we've seen a kind of dilution of some of the quite ambitious EV goals and mandates that were originally set out. Here in the UK, there's some question, uncertainty whether our own will be kind of relaxed. Are you seeing that to have an impact kind of directly on how people are kind of moving into EVs? Obviously, you're adamant that the policy plays a big role, but how is that kind of affected the transition?
So that will simply slow us down eventually. This is just happening. If you look back at the beginning actually of the journey, there were no policies, there were no support, there were no ambitions, and it started to happen. So we know that people have an interest in this new technology that are EVs, and it simply will slow us down, but it will absolutely not stop this transition. The transition is here. I mean, I often say it, but the future is now, and you're rather part of now, and you're not. And this is something that is more than coming. This is something that is there. In some countries, it's already there. We talked about Norway earlier and the Nordics countries. And for me, there's nothing that can stop it. We are really approaching the number of mass adoptions, but in few years we'll be there. It's a matter of delaying by a few months or not. It's just that it would help if this was more stable to kind of drive the right investments at the right time within this industry.
I love that the time is now. Fighting talk, really excellent to see. So before joining Fastned, I know you've been in automotive for, you've had a long and storied career in automotive, spent some time at Tesla. I think Tesla we've seen as kind of a blueprint, I guess, for scaling the electrification journey. Do you have any kind of wisdom from your time there or in other places that you've worked that kind of inform your leadership now at Fastned?
Yeah, actually, my time at Tesla has been very formative. And if it taught me a couple of things, but I think one main thing it taught me is we should have ambition. It's really important to have ambition. When you engage yourself into something, you should aim at something big. What it taught me in terms of leadership is also if you have the right mindset, if you have the right level of ambition, if you rally people behind it, there is nothing that can stop you. And interestingly, during the time I was at Tesla, the world thought we were mad. And now the world is looking back and thinking, hey, maybe we were wrong. And what I think is really important is within any company, within an industry, is relentless effort coupled with a really strong ambition, a really strong vision is what really is needed to lead actually new industry and new technology transformation. So it's a very, very important aspect of my leadership. Is a lot to do with vision and relentless effort.
Yeah, and I think, of course, Tesla was such a trailblazer and really kind of completely formative in pushing the industry forward, but interesting to see what's now quite a kind of mundane technology was at that time obviously seen as a craziness. As we kind of move into our final minutes together, I wanted to just press you on Fastned's kind of next steps. What's really on the horizon, looking into the next 12, 24 months? What can you tell us are kind of key priorities for Fastned?
So one of the first key priority is accelerations. We've put in motion investment. We've put in motion people, headcounts. We've expanded already our team across 9 markets, soon 10. What's important for us is excel at execution, be extremely customer-centric, constantly think about our customer, bringing it at the heart of what we do, and also driving a strong commercial engine that help us reaching out to a larger group of people. But it's really continuing that acceleration across Europe, really reinforcing our urban presence, making sure we deploy at speed, at scale, and then making sure we excel at what we do. So this is really what's on the picture. And I don't know if you've already heard about a new experience or so in retail in Ghent-Brugge when we've put together the first full EV charging station, 100% electric, with a magnificent shop. Actually, that was really, really beautiful and really reinforcing also this effort to make sure we provide the best experience at that station and then really look at it through the lens of our customers. So that's what on the picture for us in the next few months.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you all the best of luck in that. There's a real kind of EV optimism, and I think it's really, really kind of inspiring to drive the industry forward. That's about all we have time for, Francoise, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks a lot, Eve. It was a pleasure.